साहब नमस्ते. नमस्ते सर, रवि सिंह करो साहब.
Can I call you in 5 minutes? 10 minutes? After मैं आपसे video चलना है. I'll just call you in 10 minutes.
Sir, namaste sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Yeah, everyone is joining, sir. So probably another 2-3 minutes will start, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sir, namaste sir. ಅಲ್ಲ ಈಗ
Hello? Raghuram?
Yeah, Raghuram.
Hi.
So, open your chat box.
The chat box is open.
Uh, Namaste to all of you. Warm welcome to today's international webinar on yoga. And today we are celebrating a 6th International Yoga Day. So wish you happy 6th International Yoga Day. This webinar is jointly we are conducting in association with BMA and Rotary. Rotary's Global Yoga and Meditation Fellowship Group is hosting this webinar, and in association with BMA and Swami Vivekananda Yoga University. Rotary, you know, it is a 100 years plus organization, and BMA is a 62 years plus organization. And of course, S-VYASA University is well known in the world for its yoga activities, and it's one of the kind in university in the world for giving a yoga education and knowledge to the world. So with these few words, now I request our Pradeep Singh Karola Sahab, IAS, and he is joined this webinar from Delhi. I request him to welcome and giving his opening remarks.
Vivekananda Yoga University, the Rotary Bangalore, and the Bangalore Management Association. We are organizing this webinar on this very important day. Today, as you all know, is International Yoga Day, and also it's a very important day in the celestial system. Also, today happens to be the summer solstice, and so it's very important. And on this important occasion, we have organized this webinar. We'll be talking about the various aspects of yoga, and we all that yoga today is not at all limited to the boundary of India. It has to each and every country in the world. And with these remarks, I extend a very warm welcome to our guest speakers who are from all parts of the world, from India also and from other countries. And as we all know that yoga teaches us to be a karma yogi. So we do less of talking and more of work and more of karma. So with these few remarks, once again, I extend a very warm welcome to all the speakers and all the participants on behalf of BMA, the Rotary, and the Swami Vivekananda Vyasa Yoga University. So with these few words, I would request Mr. Amarnath to carry forward the proceedings of the webinar.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your welcome address and opening remarks. I request now the District Governor Samir Aryani, one of the young governor in the world, and he is heading our District 3190 as a governor. So I request Samir Aryani to give his observations.
Thank you, Amar. A very good evening to all our wonderful ladies and gentlemen who are here. Firstly, District Governor-elect Nagendra Prasad BL, the incoming leader who takes over the mantle, my mantle in 10 days. Dr. H.R. Nagendra, Chancellor of S-VYASA University. Sri Pradeep Singh Karola, IAS, the President of BMA, and of course, we have seen his great achievements in the Indian Administrative Services. My dear friend, Rotarian B. Amarnath, who's the chairman of this Global Yoga and Meditation Fellowship from our district. The wonderful speakers who we have today, Dr.R.Nagarathna, Dr.B.N.Gangadhar, Dr.Christoph Garner, Dr. Stec, and Prof.N.V.Raghuram, and all the wonderful ladies and gentlemen who are here from Rotary and outside Rotary as well. A grand good evening to all of you. Firstly, I'd like to apologize. We have a huge cutoff of, the internet services as well as the power services here in my building today. We are facing a total cutoff, so I'm totally cut off from my normal connection, and I'm on my mobile in one, aspect of my building where I'm trying to get access to data so that I can connect with all of you. Well, Rotary has been connecting the world, as Amarnath said, for 115 years. And one great thing that I see today, that on the International Yoga Day, Rotary all over the world is actually celebrating the Yoga Day, the International Yoga Day, with all Rotarians and non-Rotarians, friends and associations like BMA and also S-VYASA University and so many other great associations. Because we know that the yoga practices and the yoga had started in India eons ago, but it took a lot of time for people to realize the value of this great practice. And I'm so glad that now people are realizing the value and they are using this as an opportunity to get back to best physical and mental health. And everybody today in the world realizes the value of yoga. And I think it's just not on this International Yoga Day that we need to give importance or look at yoga and look at yoga's practices, but I think we need to practice this day in, day out. And the realizations come whenever there is a crisis or a disaster or a pandemic or epidemic. And in the recent past, the last 2 months, we have realized the importance of good health. We've realized the importance of how our body needs to have the kind of immunity, physical and mental, to sustain itself during such situations. And Rotarians, who are known as people of action, Rotarians who believe in serving above self and doing good in the world, have adopted all possible means to ensure that the world becomes a better place and the world gets as much help and relief that it can. So congratulations to all the associations who have partnered with us, who have connected with us today to actually make a difference and celebrate this International Yoga Day and spread the message and awareness of this great practice of our ages and sages with the world. So compliments to all of you and wishing you once again a happy International Yoga Day. Let Rotary connect the world through all these wonderful practices and services. And I'm sure it'll open opportunities for better and better human beings in better states of health, physical and mental. Good evening once again. Back to you, Amar. Thank you for arranging this.
Thank you, Samir. I also welcome District Governor-elect Nagendra Prasad for this international webinar. I'll request Nagendra Prasad to speak later. Now, friends, we have with us Christopher Garner. He has joined from Germany, and we have with us Raghuram, who is a very well-known spiritual leader, and he has joined. And we have with us Dr. B.N.Gangadhar, very well-known. He's a director of NIMHANS and a very well-known psychologist, and he is at NIMHANS University, and he is with us now. And because Dr.R.Nagarathna is supposed to speak first, but since she has engaged with the other webinar, now I request Dr. B.N.Gangadhar to start his presentation. Dr. B.N.Gangadhar, MBBS in 1978 from the Bangalore Medical College, MD Psychiatry in 1981 from NIMHANS. He's a director of NIMHANS. He is a recipient of DSc, Doctor of Science from S-VYASA University for research work on yoga and mental health in 2012. And he has received so many awards, and he has published so many national and international publications he has done, and 400 index, H index 42, RG score 45. He has guided and co-guided nearly 50 MD and PhD trainees for the research areas, yoga, public health, and mental, related subjects. He has guided so many students. Now I request Dr. B.N.Gangadhar is my guide also, and I request him to present his views on yoga and mental health.
Amarnath, how many minutes do you give me?
Sir, you please speak, sir.
No, I want to cut short. 15 minutes.
50,
wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to share a few slides which might
please, sir.
to people, although it is a little technical, but nonetheless, I'll be sharing a few observations on yoga, well-being, and the neurobiology. I'll try to be as less technical as possible. But the reason why I'm doing this is to demonstrate that there is a sound scientific basis for applying yoga in clinical practice. Being a doctor myself, being a psychiatrist myself, I need to look at whatever available alternative treatments with a pinch of salt, examine them, and then put to use. And this is what I have done in the last 22 years. I have found it very helpful to be able to relate to our other colleagues in medical profession that yoga could be a part and parcel of our treatment armamentarium. We have been observing, we have been celebrating the International Day of Yoga, and this is the 6th International Day of Yoga. I heartily congratulate all the yoga advocates, and also greet all the people who have been in this webinar. And why do psychiatrists, mental health people get attracted to yoga? Anything related to yoga, when you look into the literature, there is a mind component to that. In fact, the earliest one I could look up was the reference to yoga, manah prashamanopayaha iti yoga. what cools and makes your mind peaceful is yoga. And here we are. There are many other reasons why yoga is related to mind, but suffice to say that yoga has now been manualized for application in our day-to-day life and as well as in clinical practice. And thanks to Patanjali, who made the 8 limb of yoga, we at NIMHANS have been using largely the yogasanas and pranayama. Only recently we have begun some research on whatever I will be referring to when I say yoga, I will be referring to yogasanas and some pranayama. And we have seen that yoga has some positive effects in elderly individuals who are not mentally ill, but they may be suffering from what we call as mild cognitive impairment, which could be a prelude to going into dementia in a proportion of people who develop these memory problems in the elderly. Their sleep gets better. Their cognitive functions, when we test on various psychological tests, they get better. Their quality of life gets better. And elderly individuals overall feel better when they practice yoga. The depression also gets better. Your depression, not just in the elderly individuals, also in the young subjects when they have depressed, clinical depression. I'm not talking of depression as a mood state that you may occasionally experience. This is what is called as a clinical depression, where they reach psychiatrists. When you compare yoga with other treatments, the meta-analysis, I'm not going to the details of the meta-analysis, whichever is the comparison, whether yoga has been compared to relaxation, yoga is compared to aerobic exercise, yoga is compared to other non-pharmacological interventions. In all these situations, yoga is found to be better than other interventions. We too did an experiment of comparing yoga in clinical practice, giving it as the only therapy. Although the slide says that the yoga people got better, their depression scores got lower than other people, I don't want you to see it as a comparative study because the other 2 groups were not prospectively randomized. But suffice to say, you give yoga in clinically depressed outpatient subjects, their depression scores drop substantially. You can see the interrupted line that relates to the drop of scores in depression, and then they get better. And why does yoga produce improvement? In depressed subjects, there is a neurotransmitter called as GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. These levels are lower and its functioning is lesser. And we were able to demonstrate in healthy subjects this GABA tone, which we do a physiological measurements. The details are not, there's a test which we can use to measure what is the GABA tone in my brain. And it shows that in healthy individuals, after they practice yoga for a couple of weeks, here there were 4 weeks, their GABA tone elongated. That is called as the cortical silent period, which got longer when you practice yoga. And when you do it in depressed subjects, this cortical silent period was shorter. The pink bar in the left extreme, vis-a-vis the last bar, which is on the right extreme, where the healthy subjects had a longer cortical silent period, a better and a normal GABA tone. And these depressed subjects, when you allot them into either walking or yoga, there are 2, the change that happened in the GABA tone was substantial with the yoga patients, the light blue and dark blue. As you can see there, when you practice yoga, these people did not receive any other treatment. They practiced for a period of 1 week. Their levels of GABA functioning got better and started inching towards the healthy subjects' values. There are elsewhere, people have done even a more sophisticated in vivo measurements of the GABA levels in the brain, which is today possible thanks to technology. They found depressed subjects with practice of yoga, the GABA levels, as you can see there, there's a small spike pre and post. There was an increase in the GABA levels in the brain, which you could measure in live situations today. Not just GABA, there are other parameters which we have found that actually get better, not just the depression getting better, the levels of cortisol also come down. More people, the dark red bars, more people lose cortisol in their blood when you allow them to practice yoga with medicine or without medicine. Not just the levels of cortisol coming down, a brain repair protein called as the brain-derived neurotropic factor, which becomes lower in depressed individuals for various reasons. These graphs, and I'm not going to go into the technical details of the graph. Elsewhere, people have done a lot of studies and they have found depressed subjects have lower levels of the brain repair protein, which actually increases following treatment from depression, and it reaches normal and healthy subjects level. And we also found the dark blue graphs on the left half of the block show that the healthy subjects and the depressed subjects had lower levels than the healthy subject. You give them some treatment, yoga, drugs, or both, or drugs alone, the red bar indicates that there is a increment in the BDNF levels. And even with give yoga alone or yoga with antidepressant drugs, the BDNF levels, that the brain repair component of the blood actually gets better, and it repairs the brain better than what it was when you give yoga therapy. Very interestingly, those who lost cortisol is a stress hormone. You are exposed to continuous stress, your brain starts shrinking. It has been demonstrated by many other researchers elsewhere, including animal studies for that matter. So you lose cortisol, you are more likely to secrete more amount of the brain-derived neurotropic factor. The decreased cortisol group of people had a much substantial elevation in the brain-derived neurotropic factor. Not just the blood hormones or chemicals in the brain, we also have demonstrated actual functioning of the brain changes when you practice yoga. Here it is, they chanted Om. You see the yellow spots which you are seeing there. Those are the areas called as the limbic areas of the brain, which can make us very emotional. And the limbic area of the brain actually became deactivated to an extent. You may say why the brain is not getting more active than it was. These are the areas where you ought to actually bring them under lesser activity because you don't want to become unnecessarily emotional. Manah prashamanopayaha iti yoga. So it looks like one of the components of the yoga, Om chanting, was directly influencing the brain areas which are making us emotional. As I said, I became emotional, I produce more cortisol, and that is going to be reducing my brain-derived neurotropic factors, and the brain repair becomes lesser and lesser. In chronically depressed individuals, actually there is a loss of gray matter. That's why we say, Chita dahati nirjeevam, chinta dahati jeevanam. You become depressed, you become worried, you become very tenseful, you are continuously under stress, you are likely to have your brains smaller than what we have. You practice yoga, on the other hand, these are the elderly subjects who practiced yoga for a period of 6 months or longer. You can see that yellow spot there. This is a spot what we call as the hippocampus, which is the first to start shrinking when I start getting older and older. And this spot actually became more when a person practiced yoga. In these 7 patients, a mathematical model, we demonstrated that the gray matter in the hippocampus actually grew compared to what it was before. And there are others who have also demonstrated the interrupted line slope, which you have been seeing. Age-dependent drop in the gray matter of the brain would be happening to all of us sitting here. The older ones would be having smaller gray matter than the younger ones in the audience here. And this slope is a normal change that would happen. You practice yoga for several years, a population that has been examined who have practiced yoga for many years. In that population, the authors found that age-dependent decline in the gray matter did not happen. The uninterrupted line is what illustrates that yoga people had preserved the brain. When we age, our telomeres, it's a tip of the chromosome which shortens as we get older and older. This has been demonstrated, and for this demonstration, somebody got a Nobel Prize as well. Practitioners of yoga had longer telomeres than comparable group of people who did not practice yoga when they are age matched. And interestingly, this protection from shrinking of the telomere happens because we have been producing a lot of oxidative damage to the chromosomes, antioxidant status getting better, which can happen with yoga. There are several people who have demonstrated the antioxidant mechanisms in my body get better, and that could have a potential to protect the aging process in my body by way of not allowing the telomeres to shrink. So it looks like that we have multiple data to say that the yoga protects my brain and makes me well-being supported. This is a group of people whom we studied called as depression. We also looked at what we call as schizophrenia, a severe condition. Like I said, yoga connects. Samyoga yoga ityukto jivatma paramatmanaha. My personal consciousness connects with the cosmic consciousness. If it has to connect in a spiritual way, in a mundane way, it should also connect emotionally people around me. Forget paramatmanaha in the cosmic consciousness. The consciousness of the neighboring person should also connect with me. And it looks like it has been happening. Emotional connectivity improves with practice of yoga. We were able to get some evidence to this effect in a group of patients who have schizophrenia. Why did we choose schizophrenia? It is this group where this emotional connectedness is lost. That's the reason why this disease is called as split brain, schizophrenia. My emotions are disconnected from my thought. My thoughts are disconnected from what I am perceiving. I am disconnected with my family. I am disconnected with my society. It goes on and on and on. Individual becomes a just person all by himself, aloof. Although his psychotic symptoms, which is disturbed, can get better with our antipsychotic drugs, the negative symptoms which make this individual go to a corner actually are not greatly supported by the medicines. And it is this group of people who have been a subject of investigation world over. People demonstrated even within the brain of these individuals who have otherwise reasonably well and recovered, improved from schizophrenia, they were able to demonstrate within the brain networks are pathological. The networks are pathological. One of the common networks that has been studied by researchers is called as the default mode network. I'm not going to be interpreting the slides of the imaging here. It's too technical. But nonetheless, the brain networks today can be studied when a person is live by using what is called as functional magnetic resonance imaging. And when we do that, people found that schizophrenia people had disturbed network, poorly connected networks, or poorly functioning network, poorly coherent networks than healthy individuals. And what happened when we treated them with yoga? Their negative symptoms got better. They become more emotional. They became more emotive. They became more responsive to the family. And you can see that a yellow spot which has grown bigger after yoga was smaller before the yoga compared to the healthy individuals. And after yoga, actually that place of default mode network became more coherent. These people also lost their negative symptoms. And that was correlated with the degree to which the coherence improved in these individuals. So together, we have various biological mechanisms. I'm giving you only the tip of the iceberg. There are many other biological mechanisms that have been examined in yoga in non-neurological states also, in the blood, in the lungs, in the cardia, in the hormones. And I can give you a big list of things that people have examined to the effects of yoga. Being a person working in mental health, I'm able to demonstrate these issues are yoga practice. Yoga connects. Yoga connects all of us. We have to practice yoga in the family. Practicing with family, we get the bonding better between the family members. It's very essential today, even while having a family supper, each one of us are looking through our cell phones for the WhatsApp messages, not even looking at what is served in the plate, let alone looking at the person who served the food, my wife, my father, or my mother, or my sister. So this being the case, it is important that we bring back the family connections. More connected are the families, more connected are the families within the village, within the state, within the country. Together, we're going to have a very strongly connected society. A connected country is going to be a strength to this country. Thank you. Please practice yoga at home with your family members. I wish all the best for the Rotarians who have come here for this webinar. I thank Dr. Amarnath, who made it possible for me to speak on this webinar. Thank you for letting me come over earlier, because I just have to switch on to another webinar at 5 o'clock. Thanks a lot. Good luck to all of you. I can't hear you, Amarnath.
Sir,
Yeah.
so many participants, they are appreciated. Actually, they are all saying that we all thought that Yogasana is a spiritual and only the Swamijis and all that. After listening to the Dr. Gangadhar, a very well-known psychiatric doctor and allopathy doctor, uh, when he talks about with the evidence that what is happening with the yoga, so many are send their appreciation to you. And particularly one of them, they have asked a question, sir. One question I'll ask you that
Please, sir.
one Professor Chandrasekhar has asked how you are using yoga in for developing the mental health in NIMHANS. He has asked. You can ask. You can. So many questions are there. At least one question you can answer, sir.
Okay, NIMHANS has set up a yoga center, what is called Integrative Medicine Center, where yoga is given. Of course, they also receive, depending on their need, Ayurveda also, but all what I presented, they received either yoga with or without allopathic medicine. Leave that apart. Yoga now is going to become a part and parcel of our therapeutic armamentarium in the days to come. We have been not just medical doctors treating patients. We used to use psychologists who used to do a lot of counseling or behavior therapy. We used to have psychiatric social workers who used to help disturbances between the family members and trying to help the patients how to get along with their family members. And now we have yoga therapy, how they can get along with themselves, not just being swallowing medicine, but also practicing some of these yoga into their lifestyle and to get their health much better than what otherwise they had.
Yeah, we unmuted.
Sir, thank you very much for your valuable time. I know from morning you have attended so many webinars, and I
Yes,
know
sir.
in another 10-15 minutes you are entering one more webinar that is hosted by NIMHANS only. Thank you very much for your valuable time, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Friends, we have with us Dr. H.R. Nagendra, very well-known personality in the yoga field, and he is a Chancellor of S-VYASA University. Today we are all there and celebrating International Yoga Day. That is the 6th International Yoga Day. The main person and is responsible for this International Yoga Day to happen is Dr. H.R. Nagendra. He has almost more from last 4 decades. He has dedicated his life for the yoga and the yoga research work. Swami Vivekananda Yoga Kendra, it's a 120-acre campus in Jigani, and all over the world people are coming doing a PhD and MSc, BSc in yoga. And we have with us, we normally call him as a Guruji. We have with us Dr. H.R. Nagendra. I request Dr. Nagendra Guruji to say a few words for this webinar and bless this webinar, Guruji.
Thank you very much, Amarnath. I congratulate you and all the team members, BMA and others, for organizing this nice webinar. This 6th International Day of Yoga is something very special. In all the earlier IDYs, we used to gather in big numbers and celebrate this with a speech of our Prime Minister and do the practices of yoga, that is the IDY yoga protocol. But this time, because of the constraints in which we live today, we cannot do that. Therefore, our Ministry of Ayush developed a very special, nice thing that we should still conduct this program by the whole process done from home. So the difficulties that people used to find to go to the place and stay there, waiting, and then doing the practices and all these things are now avoided. I remember in our first International Day of Yoga, we were to start at 6 o'clock in the morning. So people from all around, 50,000 people have to reach there before 5 o'clock and assume their places. Particularly, we were trying to get the Guinness World Book of Records. Therefore, there was strict compliance. Everybody should be there in things. And people started from their homes at 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning and reached there 5 o'clock. And they were all there, And such difficulties are no more there now, In the comfort of the house, we can stay and participate. Thanks to technology, we have been able to come together as a harmonious whole throughout the world. And we have our Garnerji from Germany, and all the dignitaries who are here from various places are coming together to do these things. When there is no solution for the corona, which is spreading, either a vaccine or a medicine, what is the way out? Modern medical system has only said we have to prevent the corona spreading by the distancing and lockdown, and thereby we'll be able to prevent the exponential spread of this COVID. Rightly, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji brought this lockdown sufficiently early so that India did not go exponential in the last few months. And now that the whole system is coming to a sort of normalcy, then the lockdown is getting loosened, and then again the corona is going to spread. And people say that in July it's going to reach peak and cause the problems. What is the way out? Today in his brilliant talk, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji said the way out is to take up to yoga. Every person should practice yoga in the house itself. And what to practice? The IDY protocol is the one that easily they can adopt for prevention of all these NCDs and also getting infected. And for particularly COVID, he also emphasized that yoga can be an immune booster. The immune system can become very strong on one front, and it also set our respiratory system also to great shape. By these two approaches, we'll be able to deal with the corona effectively. What aspect of yoga makes this possible has been so beautifully brought out by Gangadhar, that our mental challenges which are likely to come up, which have really come up during this lockdown period, people staying in the houses alone, they're not used to. In fact, most people have been telling that's the first time in our life that we are staying in the house for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It's something very rare. So naturally, they're all bored, they're all anxious and full of stress manifests, fear, then the boredom and the uncertainties, when this is going to happen, when we are going to go back to work, and the economic considerations, socio-economic problems, everything haunting them. So in that condition, what should be done? It's here that yoga comes into picture to reduce the anxieties and the depressions and others, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Gangadhar, that we will be able to maintain our peace, calm, tranquility in this period. Normally, we don't have time for the practice of yoga, and now you have plenty of time staying home. At least your time for travel is reduced, and in Bangalore, there's so much of time is spent beating the traffic. That all is avoided staying home. So we have the time for the practice. What to practice? So as a prophylactic process, we have developed simple yoga modules, integrated yoga modules. For people below 15 years, 16 to 60 years, and above 60 years, we've got 3 modules that we have brought forth. They're the integrated yoga modules that have come up. Then for the people who are already in the hospital getting trained, we have simple modules, which can be done even lying down in the bed, about 6 or 7 things. It consists of simple, slow, deep breathing, and the relaxation component, and calming down of the mind, and bringing the emotional stability, and with the proper knowledge base. All these things have been nicely put forth in their integrated modules that we have developed and started working on these things. And many people have got wonderful results by this. They've been able to come out of their deathbed, not only in Italy, but also in England, but also in Canada and other places also apart from India. So it is this that we recommend, and therefore we requested our Chief Minister, we all went, myself, Gangadhar, Manjunath, we went and requested that yoga should be brought as the thing, as an adjunct to the conventional treatment thing they have. Then we can even do some clinical trials and multi-centered clinical trials we can do and show the people, yes, it is possible. As a first step, we did COVID health assessment scale throughout the country. In a pan-India, 25,000 people responded, and we analyzed the data, and wonderful results have come up clearly showing that yoga is more effective than the people who have not done the yoga practices. They have got better stability, better calmness, lesser anxieties, and better health status. And that is what we are going to write up the research papers for publications in good journals. And that is how we are proceeding ahead. And now, as a multi-centric trial, we are going to work all together, and NIMHANS also has come forward to see that we bring about these dimensions on a research basis, showing that it works. As all of you know, yoga is a science of holistic living. There are two dimensions to calming down the mind. One is to calm down the mind, silence the mind, tranquil the mind. Another is to sharpen the mind, faster mind, quicker mind, brilliant mind, faster, faster, faster. And unfortunately, the first dimension has been grossly neglected in our entire education system. So in all education system, when we want to bring yoga, it is getting accepted by the UGC and the MHRD and others. In all the medical institutions also, our Rajiv Gandhi University of Health, and they want to bring yoga to everyone, even at the medical front and dental and various medical practices, they have to bring forth and see that yoga comes into the picture, in which we have to bring this balance. It is this imbalance at the mind level which causes imbalances at the pranamaya kosha and brings imbalances, causing the stress reaction, endocrine imbalance, autonomic imbalance, and percolates to the organs and systems in the body, causing the disease. So Adi becomes a Vyadhi. In the present context, the immune system gets suppressed because of these imbalances, which is the root cause for these things. And the immune system also gets an imbalance and causes the problem. Therefore, we have to bring the balance. Restoring the balance, restoring the homeostasis is the key essence. And that's what yoga does. And as you know, as beautifully pointed out by Gangadhar, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. That is bringing the balance is the key essence. Balance at all the levels, at the body level, prana level, mind level, emotional level, intellectual level. We have to bring that balance. And that balance is the key essence. And that forms the basis for the yoga way of life. So people can start using these simple modules that we had developed to bring about this balance, to bring about the health, and to keep the immune system intact with full of strength, vitality, energy, and dynamism, so that it can ward off, it can throw away, and even eat up the coronavirus if they come. You know, something very special, coronaviruses cannot live by themselves. They do not replicate themselves. In fact, it's something like a parasite. Only when it comes in contact with the cell and takes the energy of the cell to replicate itself. And therefore, it is a gross thing. And our immune system can easily ward off that. And that's what yoga does. And once again, I congratulate Amarnath and all the colleagues for making this thing nice, and then see that it goes up. And thank you very much for calling me. And I wish you all the best. Garrarji Namaskar, Gangadhar Namaskar, and all the other people. I offer my things. Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Guruji. Thanks for joining. Guruji, we have only one question, Guruji. See, so many are there appreciating you, complimenting your, and one person particularly asked, it is motivating me to ask you. And he is telling, Guruji, you are at 77, bubbling with so much of energy, and now you are not even using the glass and all that. And your, what is the secret? Is asking. It is a one. Another one, Guruji, my request to you. It is not a question, it is a request to you. Guruji, after this COVID and all that, more the developing countries and developed countries, the top countries and all that, we have realized, see, we are spending only few, very, very small percentage for the health, education, and basic food and shelter. And the rest of the major money, it is going for the defense purpose. Guruji, see, my request to you, Gandhiji has started, when he said that we take the independence with the, in the route of Ahimsa, everyone laughed. So now this is the right situation, Guruji, because you can become a Pitamaha, you are a Pitamaha of yoga, and you become a peace ambassador for this world, and tell these countries not to go for the fighting each other and spending huge money for the defense. Let them spend money for the health and food and shelter, Guruji. That is my request. So, over to you, Guruji.
That I also agree, and that's the thing that has to happen. It can happen only when they develop the prema bhava among the people and see that we all work together as one big family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that's what our Prime Minister said. This is the opportunity that has come that we should all work together as one whole. And can we create a family, a global family? And this is what Swami Vivekananda had told. We have to bring that universal love. If we do that, we'll be able to reduce our defense spending and even make it zero. That's the ideal thing that can happen. But it's all the Asuri Sampat that's making us go haywire. You know, Asuri Sampat is featured by Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Madamatsarya. And we have to transform that into Daivi Sampat, featured by sharing, giving everything, and see that we bring that universal love, the Prema Bhava featured by giving and giving without expecting anything in return. And that's what we have to bring forth. If we do that, we have the total solution. This is what our Prime Minister today emphasized in his speech also. So thank you very much. Good. Dhanyavad.
You have not answered that the secret behind your bubbling energy,
Practice
Guruji.
of yoga, simple
Thank you,
practice of
Guruji.
yoga. I spend a lot of time every day for my practice and also try to live the way of life, the karma yoga,
Simple way.
converting every action into a yoga, you know, enjoying and becoming happier and happier. Tune to the self, do the action. Yogastaha kuru karmani, as said. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, very much, Guruji. So you are the best example for the simple living and high thinking. And we hope and we pray through you as a peace ambassador. Let this world be very peaceful and very normal after this COVID. Thank you very much, Guruji, for joining. Thank you, Guruji. Now we have with us Dr. Nagarathna, R.Nagarathna. She is a medical director of so S-VYASA, and she is a backbone for our Ayurdhama. And now she is there with us to just to introduce her in a few words. Didi, namaste, Didi. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Didi. To introduce her, we need at least 3-4 pages. But briefly, I will introduce her in a few lines. Dr. Nagarathna, MBBS, MD, FRCP, London, and DAC is a medical director of Arogyadhama, a 250-bedded teaching hospital of integrative medicine that combines evidence-based integrated approach of yoga therapy with modern medicine, Ayurveda, naturopathy, acupuncture, and physiotherapy offered to the patient with different NCDs under the supervision of a team of experts in each of these specialties. Dr. R. Nagarathna also serves as a distinguished professor in the Medical College of S-VYASA University, guides PhD students, and work as a principal investigator for many funded yoga-related clinical projects at the S-VYASA Yoga University. She is a recipient of DSc Honor Award from 2 universities, Kannada Rajyotsava Award from Karnataka government, and she is a number of yoga-related. She has published a number of yoga-related books, and she is a member of yoga-related policy-making national committees of VHU, Niti Ayog, University Grant Commission, NAC, and Indian Yoga Association. She has authored 111 publications in peer-reviewed high-index journals and written 12 books on yoga for different NCDs, including cancer, diabetes, heart diseases, asthma, and spinal problems. Now, Didi, thanks for your valuable time, and over to you, Didi, Dr. Nagarathna Didi. Didi, you have to mute. You can speak, Didi.
Namaste.
Namaste.
I bring the greetings from all our Vivekananda family to all the guests who are sitting here, who are the participants of this seminar, the Rotarians, and very happy to see our international speaker, Dr. Garner, also online. Very nice meeting you, Dr. Garner.
And Chris also is there, Didi.
Oh, Chris, okay, from Poland. Hello,
Yeah.
Chris. Okay. And Raghuram ji is there. I have been asked to talk about yoga in medicine. You have already heard Dr. Gangadhar talking a lot about how he has been able to apply yoga in mental health. Let me continue and talk about what are the concepts that the yogis use and how we have been able to integrate that into modern science to be able to apply this to all these.
Yes, 1 second, sir. We are letting him know. 1 second, sir. We are letting him know.
Any problem? Any problem? Am I audible, Amarnathji?
Not from our side. Not from our side. You can speak.
Okay.
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. So all of us know that we want to maintain good health. It's not just mere absence of disease. We should be positively healthy at the physical, mental, social, and spiritual level. And to reach to that state, yoga is a direct method, which is actually defined by Sage Aurobindo as a technique for total personality development at the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. It's as if that the World Health Organization has borrowed the definition of health from yoga. We are seeing that today lifestyle has become one of the major concerns for all non-communicable and communicable diseases. I'm sure you're all reading, even in this pandemic of COVID, lifestyle is a major factor. I was talking to the Karnataka task force chief, was mentioning that in Karnataka, all the deaths that happened were only in the very elderly, sick people, but there was only one young man who died because of COVID, purely because of his wrong lifestyle. He picked up the infection because he was an alcoholic and he had a very erratic lifestyle. So bad habits like alcohol, smoking, junk food, lack of physical activity, mental stress are all traceable to mind as the root cause. Root is the mind, and all diseases are sitting in the branches. When we talk about stress, we tend to think that, oh, I've got a lot of office problem, of your home problem, financial problem, property issues, my own ambitious, unfulfilled desires, and this infection, the big COVID, which is causing all my problem. And it's become a fashion. I meet large number of participants. When I ask them, what do you think is the cause of your problem? They say, oh, it is all my stress. It's my husband, it's my wife, it's my boss, it's my job, it's my targets, it's my deadlines. Is what they keep telling. In all these situations, we see that it is not the situation, it is how we respond to these situations that we call as the problem. The response to demanding situation is itself the definition. So the first change that has to be brought about to all our participants is to make them recognize problem is not the wife, problem is not the husband, problem is not the boss, problem is not the COVID, problem is me, my body, my immune system, my nervous system, my mind, which is controlling the whole thing. And once they understand this, we will be able to overcome these responses of fear and suppressed emotions, which create all these problems and produce many of these imbalances that is creating the problem. In the situation of COVID also, COVID infection, as soon as it happens in the body, the immediate response is called acute response, innate response, adaptive response, which is protective, which helps us. But when it becomes overwhelming, when it becomes chronic, it damages. And I'm sure many of you have been reading that this stress, which causes the cytokine storm, is the major killer that is creating all the problem in both NCDs and CDs. Therefore, we have to learn how to handle our mind. Therefore, in our mind, it is our emotions which is creating all the problem. and all our negative emotions, as Guruji mentioned, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, which is at the Manomaya Kosha level, percolates as fighting, inflammation, violence at the physical level. And this uncontrolled violence, which is about which Bhagavad Gita beautifully describes in this shloka, is what is creating all the problem. And therefore, the whole of the solution, the sages tell us, is how to slow down the mind. Violence, violence, violence at the mind, violent activity at the prana level, violence at the physical level is the cause for diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, back pain, acidity, asthma, and cytokine storm in the COVID situation. Therefore, the whole thing is to slow down, relax, allow the system to do its job in its own harmonious way. And therefore, the summary of all the yoga practices is to give very deep rest to each and every cell in our body through 2 minutes instant relaxation technique, 3 minutes in quick relaxation techniques, 10 minutes deep relaxation technique, cyclic meditation, which we have shown can give a lot of deep rest to each and every cell in the body to reach the state of total mastery. Mastery means I get angry when required, I can switch off, and I can get tensed when I want, I can switch off. Speed up, slow down, switch off. Speed up, slow down, switch off. Speed up anger, slow down the anger, switch off the anger. Get tensed, oh, I have to do this, I have to complete this, complete this. Speed up when required, then slow down and switch off. Switch on, switch off is the real mastery over our monkey mind that Sage Patanjali wants us to practice through and reach a state of complete balance. And that is what is the whole of the summary, for which we incorporate a combination of all these, starting from the diet, cleansing the system, asanas, pranayama, meditation, relaxation techniques, devotional techniques, analytical techniques, and as Guruji said, action in blissful awareness. Enjoy the background silence, go on working. I met one person who is at a very high post in Delhi. I asked him, sir, you must, because of your high position, you must be getting very stressed out. He said, no, I have no stress at all. Then I asked him, you must be a very perfectionist. You must be doing your work very perfectly. That's why, and you are so well organized. You may not be stressed. What will happen if your assistants don't come up to your expectation of being perfect in their job? Won't you get agitated? Won't you get distressed? Then he said, very interesting word. Madam, if he is not functioning, why should this body get reactive to it? I don't react. I only pray to the divine that may he give him strength to function efficiently, and then offer myself to Hanuman. So always Hanuman sits in my background, who takes care of everything. So I don't worry about anything. This is the concept of working with the divine awareness at the background. So all said and done, is it possible? Is it acceptable to present day medical science? By doing all these practices, one can reach the states of calmness, relaxation, fearlessness, confidence, and reach that state of total freedom from getting lost in our speed and remain in that beautiful state of soft emotion of faith in the divinity, acceptance, confidence, etc. is the whole of the concept that we try to work on. And does it show up as research data? Does it show up with the best of the modern techniques? Is it possible to demonstrate these results? Therefore, as when we started our activity, even 40 years back, we wanted to do it as the with a research mode using the modern technology. And therefore, let me now share some of the results of our research. One of the collaborations that we had is with the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, the biggest cancer unit in the whole world. And in our phase 1, we had breast cancer women attending yoga during their radiation therapy treatment for 6 weeks. And they were compared with control group. And these were the very simple practices that they were taught. And we were able to show that their general health was much better in the yoga group, and their intrusive thoughts were much lower in the yoga group. And this was another PhD project of the cancer. Dr. Raghavendra Rao, who is now the director of Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy, was the person who did this PhD work, where he was able to show that from the day 1 of the entry into the treatment program, on the day of diagnosis, our yoga teacher meets them, takes them through with various sets of yogic techniques right until the end of the treatment. And post-treatment also, follow-up also, we have had 4 PhDs working on this, and we were able to show that throughout the period, their anxiety was much less in the yoga group, depression was much less in the yoga group, quality of life was much better in the yoga group. In fact, we have had large number of cancer patients who walk around happily. Even now I have 2-3 participants in our campus who are happily walking around, although their cancer is still there in their body. During chemotherapy, we were able to show their toxicity scores were much lesser. Their duration of hospital stay after surgery was much lower, and stress markers were much lower in advanced disease people, etc. We also have some of the advanced cancer patients who come to us when all the treatments are over, have been told that no more treatment is possible, your disease has come back, so you have to wait for your last days. They come here, stay here. In fact, one of the participants who stays in our campus, he got a phone call from his doctor. What was the death date of Mr. Manu? Mr. Manu received the phone and said, I'm alive, sir. Although it is more than 1.5 years back when you declared that I would be dead and gone, I'm happily moving around in the campus. These are some unique examples of cancer patients who got cured through their intense yogic techniques. Asthma was the first paper that I published in the British Medical Journal, where we were able to show the benefits of yoga in asthma in our respiratory system section, where even at the blood level, we were able to show reduction in the IgE values. In fact, we have had a large number of asthma patients who are on injections, inhalers, very big doses of medicine, who are now completely free. In fact, they have forgotten that they were asthmatics. I have forgotten that they were asthmatics. Many of them are our yoga teachers. In cardiology, we carried out a post-bypass repair study where we recruited bypass patients and taught them yoga from the day they came to the hospital for bypass surgery, took them through the surgery, after the surgery, and we have followed them for, this was a 1-year follow-up data. We now have the 10th year follow-up data, which we are writing up, where we were able to show better pumping efficiency, better quality of life, etc. Looking at Dr. Garner, I can share that his data from Koa Hospital in Germany, where Dr. Garner will be talking to you now, where we have a very long-standing relationship for almost 15-20 years, where we have student exchange programs at this hospital, where one of the students did this study on bladder function in multiple sclerosis patients who are taught simple practices in the German hospital to all these disabled people who are doing this. And it's very fascinating to see how in Dr. Garner's hospital, you enter the hospital, you can hear German patients chanting, Sahana Vavato, Sahano Bhunakto. It's really, really interesting how they integrate yoga into their treatment programs. So these are some of the results of how people were able to sleep better because their urinary incontinence had reduced after yoga. Here is one MS patient who comes very frequently to Bangalore, who lives near the hospital and teaches yoga to his patients. Neurology department, we have very encouraging results with large number of people who get cured after yogic practices. Yoga in autism is another very difficult area, another PhD project. Shanta Radhakrishna, she was able to catch hold of these children in special schools, teach them yoga. These are children who are running with poor eye gaze, and they are just have no sitting tolerance. And this is what she is able to do through yoga practices in these cases. Look at the beautiful way these children are able to harmonize themselves and stabilize themselves and work with Dr. Shantaji to be able to sit and do these practices and develop better balance and perception. Diabetes is the flagship project of our institution, where our first publication from London was in 1992, which went on to become a Stop Diabetes movement, where I request all the Rotarians to give your support for this collective effort to prevent India from becoming the world capital of diabetes. And I'm happy to share that we have now been able to produce enough support to make it a national project. Like the Rotarians, we were talking to Dr. Harshavardhanji, he said, just like the Rotarians cooperated with me to eradicate polio from India, definitely we will all work together to eradicate diabetes from India through yoga. But now we are stuck with this other big pandemic, which is creating a lot of COVID problems. So we should all join hands to see that we prevent COVID from attacking us, and let us take this vow that we shall promote this yoga to every home, every family, so that we strengthen our immune system and work on ourselves to see that we eradicate this germ. Did you know that COVID is a dead particle? It's not a live organism. It's my body which gives life to it. We have got receptors waiting to allow the dead material, the mRNA, to stick to it and enter into our cells, and then our cells give the life to it. So if we say that I am not going to receive this, by washing it off, by doing regular lifestyle, regular breathing, regular Kapalbhati, and take care of all the social distancing and the mask use and washing, etc., as has been prescribed, and keep our immune system with regular yoga practices, we should be able to win over this war. Thank you all very much for this opportunity to have allowed me to share some of these data. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Didi. Thanks for joining for this webinar. And most of them, they have sent their compliment in the chat. And few of them appreciated your work. And my dear friends, Dr. Nagarathna Didi, she is a sister of Dr. H.R. Nagendra, and she is an authority in the medical field. And she integrates the yoga in S-VYASA Arogya Dama, wherever in the best of the best corporate hospitals where the problem is not solved, it will be solved in our Didi's hand. So she will make that patient so mentally strong that all the diseases will go away. So thank you, Didi. Thanks for joining. And now I request, thanks for joining, Didi. Namaste.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Namaste. Now I request DG Nagendra Prasad is with us, and I request Dr. DG Nagendra Prasad to say a few words. Nagendra Prasad.
Yeah, thank you, Amanat. Well, it's a nice concept today on this International Yoga Day to arrange everything on a webinar. And today, you know that because of this COVID, most of our programs in Rotary and other programs, training programs, are all held on online, and it's continuously worldwide, which has been going on. I think this is a good concept. At least you started connecting us instead of just passing off the International Yoga. Thank you, Amanat, for this great idea. And well, our Pradeep Singh Karola, president of PMA, is always, encouraging each one of us. I know him personally well, encouraging each one of us to do something different, and not and our Dr. H.R. Nagendra, and the man who has sacrificed his life along with his sister for this yoga. I think I have visited many times, and my daughter also did some courses as Amannath, you know about it. And I think we have our DG to Samir Harani. And to tell you, friends, I would just like to be very brief. We have another 4 great speakers in the line now, apart from our Nagarathna Didi. And the experience was one experience which I would like to share with you is one G.V. Iyer. His name is G.V. Iyer. He was a famous Kannada film director. And since I come from a film fraternity, he had, cancer, and he came back. He came home and told my father that I'm not going to survive. He was already about 70 plus, and he said, I have exhausted everything, and I don't know when I'm going to leave this world. And then, after some time, he came back and said, now I'm improved. Then my father said, it's a contradict. What is this? What's happening? Then immediately he said, I found out some Guruji, and he started teaching me on yoga. And then, I did a vigorous exercises on this particular yoga exercises. And after that, now things have improved. Now I went back to my doctor, and he took an X-ray, and he said, I'm surprised. And he had no answer for that. So friends, there are a lot of incidents each one of us would have gone through. And what I felt was, I think previously the yoga was connected with a religion. Thereby, many of them were not trying to practice this, or it was kept away. And it was said, very sacred. That is one of the things. Because my father was a president of Karnataka Yoga Association for a very long time, and he was closely working with one famous Iyengar, Iyengar, and most of you know about it. And so since then, I had a lot of connections for this yoga and passion for yoga. And again, coming back to asthma is another thing, especially Bangaloreans. We have asthma, which is something great, which we cannot eradicate, by taking, medicines. We just take some medicines, and which gives us only a temporary relief. When we go to any doctor, they say for asthma, the cure is only yoga, pranayama, yoga, the breathing exercises. So we all know about it, but the only thing is we are little hesitant, or we are little lazy in practicing. So in this connection, what we did in Rotary was, from a couple of years, during any sessions, when we have any training sessions, we have started asking people to start with a yoga, and we have our own Rotarians who teach yoga there for maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, for 2 days, 3 days, and then we request them to go on with that. And also today morning at 6 o'clock, we had our Selvaraj, Dr. Selvaraj is another Rotarian who took up today for 1 hour, about 1 hour on this because of the International Yoga Day. So the Rotarians are also started practicing yoga, and in Rotary we have started talking more about yoga. And also we are this year, that is from July, we are going to have one fellowship which is called International Yoga, Rotary International Yoga, which will be connected throughout the world, and so that we could practice, or we could preach more of yoga throughout the world, because we have about 1.2 million Rotarians throughout the world. and we want to spread this awareness. And I think definitely at that part of time, we require help from the Amarnath, our Dr. Amarnath, and also our Dr. H.R. Nagendra. Definitely, we require your help, sir. The idea of Rotary is to preach and ask more people to start practicing yoga and be more healthy, because this is the only way we could all have more, especially at this part of time, we have a lot of mental stress. For mental stress, there's nothing else other than yoga. So with this words, I would like to say that, whenever we have an opportunity, we would always be like to come there and interact with Vyasa and Amarnath. And if you being a Rotarian, I'm sure we will do a great job on this yoga. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nagendra. Thank you very much for joining. Now over to Christopher for the presentation. Christopher Garner. Christopher Garner, just namaste. Dr. Christopher Garner is a very highly experienced neurologist. He established and developed the neurological and geriatric rehabilitation center in Griesbach, Germany, and trained hundreds of medical personnel. His passion for India has been so great that he visited India exploring the Ayurveda and yoga in difficult neurological cases, and he started first full-fledged yoga therapy and Ayurveda facility in Germany. Guided several people in PhD and is passionate about research work. He is blessed with 3 daughters who are also medical doctors, are interested in deep research in the field of medicine. Thank you very much, Christopher Garner, sir. Thanks for your valuable time, and welcome to India, and welcome to this webinar. Over to you. Over to you, sir.
Okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, we are seeing your screen.
Wonderful. So many things have already been said by Dr. Nagendra, Dr. Nagarathna, and Dr. Gangadhar, that I wonder what I can add to the question of yoga and COVID. I will try to say something about the depression, which can be caused by this COVID pandemic, and how we can treat it with yoga. So 1 second, I'll get this one. Everybody can see? Yes. So we have 2 types of depression. One depression is endogenic, without any cause. Yeah, very difficult disease, very painful for the patients they have it. But another depression, we call it exogenic, where there is a known cause. And one of the known causes now can be this corona pandemic, because one is the anxiety to get the disease, or that relatives get the disease. The coronavirus also catches young people, even coming to death, what is not very common with a common flu or something like that. Some depression are due to isolation, due to quarantine. Some financial problems may arise due to loss of work and all these things. Some people suffer from contact, that they have no contact to relatives, friends, colleagues, and also the complications of the disease often end in depression. What are the signs of a depression? The key signs is depressed mood. Another one is no feeling of any happiness, feeling hopeless, helpless, loss of drive. And if 2 of these symptoms are permanent for more than 2 weeks, the doctors say, oh, this guy has a real depression. Yeah. Other frequent symptoms, I only may go quickly through it. Of course, anxiety, disturbed sleep, difficulty to think clearly. People sometimes think they are developing Alzheimer's, no concentration, loss of appetite, loss of feelings, difficulties for decision making, guilt feeling, ruminating, pain without organic correlate, and very dangerous if there occur suicidal thoughts, because depression at the end may end in suicide, what is a very bad, what we have to prevent as doctors. Therapy in depression is, of course, we can take antidepressive drugs of allopathic, Ayurvedic, we can take herbs. In Germany, we are using Hypericum perfoliatum. It is, I know that whether it is amber in India. Also, homeopathy is sometimes working. You can do some psychotherapy, mostly behavior therapy. And I will speak now about other possibilities to influence the brain in a positive way, especially by yoga, or what I am doing now a lot with the EEG neurofeedback. What is the key role of yoga in anxiety and depression? Depression means great, that there is a great sympathetic stress. Yeah? Many studies have shown this, and the stress is significantly worsening the immune system, what of course is very bad in a corona situation. And as we all know, yoga is the best solution for stress reduction. Yeah? On the other hand, in depression, you have a wandering mind. You have no control over your negative thoughts, over your anxiety, fear. Yeah? And yoga means, as Raghuram told me in our first meetings in 1995, that yoga means not purely doing exercises with asanas, but yoga has the aim of mastering the mind, mastering over mind. So with yoga, you can better combat and control bad thoughts and so come out of depression. With yoga lifestyle, learn to live in the present, so less fear for future calamities to happen. I also learned from Raghuramji that you are responsible to your actions, but you have no right for a result. This was a sentence which helped me a lot out of personal sorrow when I had problems with my clinic, financial problems, things like that, that I just at the moment, I do my best and I will not worry for the future, and everything went well. I was feeling much better. I think same is good for depressive patients. With yoga, you can achieve a better sleep, so less worrying at night. Especially we are using asanas, pranayamas, and MRC techniques. According to my experience, is the best for depression. Meditation in depression, I think, is difficult because of concentration deficit and a trend to be caught in bad thoughts if you are told to concentrate on certain things. Now I will show you a few studies which were done by my daughter Malvina, who was infected with yoga about 15 years ago when I sent her to India to Prajanti, and due to the help of Nagarathna and Raghuramji and Dr. Nagendra, she could learn yoga nicely in doing a S-VYASA course. And 15 years later, 10 years later, she started a doctorate in yoga, and this is her latest work, Effects of Slow and Fast Nasal versus Mouth Breathing measured by functional MRI. She is doing this at the University of Saarland in Hamburg in Germany. She had 11 participants, healthy medical students or doctors, 6 females, 5 males. All were right-handed and all had no yoga, all were not yoga practitioners, and they were non-meditators. She tested 4 designs, 4 breathing conditions in a pseudo-random number was done during the running of the MRI. Slow nasal breathing with 3 breaths per minute, slow mouth breathing with 3 breaths per minute, fast nasal breathing with 20 breaths per minute, so almost normal breathing, and fast mouth breathing with 20 breaths per minute. It was done in a high resolution Tesla MRI with Siemens, and it was analyzed with SPM8 and the anatomy toolbox. To show you how it was done, this picture the student saw in the MRI for to do fast breathing with the nose. And now slow breathing, inhalation, and slow exhalation through mouth. And again, they should do slow inhalation, very slow, up to only 3 breaths per minute, and the same S-VYASA with the nose and the mouth for fast and slow breathing. After, I just try to skip this. Yeah, and the most significant result was that these were the brain centers you see in red, which were activated with slow nasal breathing versus fast nasal breathing. Yeah, so many different brain areas, especially in the inner brain centers. We call it hippocampal area, but also cortex and insula were activated by this slow, very slow nasal breathing. Why could it happen? This is because of the olfactory system is a very old ontogenetic system which leads the impulses directly to old brain centers in the midbrain, which is connected to the unconscious centers like hippocampus and amygdala. And this is strongly associated to emotions, especially anxiety. Here I have a slide with all the cerebral parts which are improved or which show activation: the insula, precuneus, hippocampus, amygdala, cerebellum. And these functions, they are relevant for stress regulation, emotional regulation, autonomic regulation, learning, memory, spatial orientation, high-level attention, decision-making, sensomotoric and pain processes, aspects of self-consciousness, and for yogis, very important, feeling of happiness and bliss. This was one study. The other one, this was her doctor study. Very shortly, I will present. She did a study with 120 students, finally 102 participants. The effect of 10 weeks Hatha Yoga on brain structure measured by structural MRI. You can see here the statistical data. If somebody wants, he can write me an email. I can send him the work. And to summarize the work, the Hatha Yoga group, the students were free to choose which group they would choose. The Hatha Yoga group significantly, the right hippocampal area was increasing. The sports group, the right hippocampal area was decreasing. In the passive group, there was no change. But there was another very interesting finding. In red, you see before the intervention, in green, after the intervention. So this the control group had no direct change. The sports group, the density, the neuron density in the hippocampal area was going down, and in the yoga group, the hippocampal density was significantly going up. Very interesting, on the other hand, is that the yoga group, and I told you already that students were allowed to choose their group themselves. Yeah, the yoga group initially was completely different to the both other groups. You can see it on the next slide. This is the density they measured in the hippocampal area, and the green were the control, the white were the sports group. They all had the same, almost the same density, whereas all participants of the yoga group were significantly lower density. The all over the brain measured neuron density there was no change. This is my daughter, to give her the respect, and she giving her respect to Raghuram, Dr. Nagendra and Dr. Nagarathna for helping her to develop these things. Now, finally, I would show a few slides about the new technique I am working now with, and I am doing EEG, measuring the brain activity under various conditions. Normally in neurology, we are using EEG. Here you can see a sample to detect epileptic seizures or pathologic states of consciousness, or I could add to see the quality of sleep. Yeah? In psychology, we try to detect psychological disturbances like anxiety, depression, concentration problems, ADHS, sleep disorders, and many more. These are the waveform we normally see in these EEGs. There are alpha waves with awake, eyes closed, relaxed, like this here, beta waves, open eyes, decision-making, exploring current situation, calculating, and in dream sleep, we have this fast beta waves. Theta is light sleep, delta is deep sleep. And spike wave, like this, we have in epileptic seizures. Here you see a sleep diagram going to deep sleep, having a little dream sleep, deep sleep, dream sleep, deep sleep, and then the dream sleep is more prominent. What we are doing now is to do a quantitative EEG, and this is an example of a patient with concentration disorder. I would like to take your attention to this picture. It is saying that this patient, according to his concentration disorder, he has a lot of theta waves in the front, which is pathologic in wake people. It might occur in meditation or in light sleep, but normally in a wake person, the red means 3 standard deviation from normal. And after 5 minutes pranayama, this has gone. You see it in the middle one, and even 10 minutes thereafter, the effect was on. This is just as an example. We have done many studies now here, but it is difficult to analyze them because EEG is a more chaotic waveform, and still it is difficult to analyze, but this was a very impressive example. Last slide. What we are doing now, we are using EEG neurofeedback for depression and anxiety. we are placing electrodes on the head, on a portion of the head, maybe in this case on the frontal lobes, where the therapist want to increase or decrease certain power bands of the EEG. In depression, typically increase alpha waves on the left frontal side. In anxiety disorders, we want to increase beta waves in occipital lobes of the brain. The client concentrates on a video game on the screen, which gives a positive feedback if the wanted waves are produced. And by that, the brain automatically learns to produce the desired waveforms. By that, slowly, the symptoms can be reduced, but also with ADHS and many other problems. So this is my lecture, and I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for your question, if there are some. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garner, sir. Friends, so many are actually wondering what is this scientific presentation and all that. And most of you are convinced yoga is not just asanas, and there is a lot of research work has happened in this field. I want to tell you, when Modi ji, after his prime ministership in 2014, when he proposed for the international INO, this international body, for the international, to celebrate the International Yoga Day on particular 21st June, because the 21st June sun will be very bright. So when he requested, so just I want to inform you, out of 177 countries, they have supported unanimously. So that is the first time in its history, history, so many countries supported unanimously for the proposed given by our Prime Minister. So why I'm saying that, so normally any Western countries or European countries, they don't take just like that without any this medical evidence or without proof, scientific evidence, they don't accept anything. So they are all accepted means, so the work behind all these things for this thing is that Christopher Garner and Dr. H.R. Nagendra, Dr.R.Nagarathna, Gangadhar, and so many are there. So they have put their best from last at least 3 to 4 decades for this yoga field. So once again, I'm repeating, yoga is just not an asana, it is a way of life. So thank you, Garner sir. And there is one question. Do these food habits determines the anxiety and depression? There one of our professor is asking Dr. Garner.
Sorry, I didn't understand it. What?
Do food habits determines the anxiety and depression? One of the professor, Yashoda professor, she is asking, do food habits determines the anxiety and depression?
I didn't understand. Put AB or what?
Food means that...
food?
Yeah.
Of course, also diet plays a role, but I'm not an expert in this. I have installed also an Ayurvedic department in my clinic, and their foods plays a major role, avoiding wheat and meat and according to the pulse. And there is a lot of food regulations, and we have got nice results with this Ayurvedic treatments also. But of course, also with our yoga treatment in our class, where through the help of S-VYASA, we have yogic students in our clinic who are doing a research on yogic topics and do yoga every day with our patients. And this is a big enrichment to our treatment. Thank you very much, especially Dr. Nagarathna and Dr. Nagendra, to make this possible.
Can I have a question? Can I have a question? Can you hear me? Yes. Well, I would like to explore more with you the possibility of really using food as a major part of yoga. Not too many people connect proper diet, proper food. The trick is, how do you define proper food? I have done considerable work on food, and maybe my presentation, if you would be willing to follow, which is coming up soon, you would get a little bit better understanding. Actually, I live in Warsaw, Poland, and my name in English is Christopher as well, but I have the original, I have a Polish spelling to make it hard on you, which is pronounced Krzysztof. Anyway, so we are not too far one from the other, and maybe you would see a way for us to collaborate due to, you know, the general attitude with allopathic medicine in Poland, probably elsewhere, that alternative ways of handling the medical problems is not very much favored. I have access to some research where depression of patients was brought down to zero, actually fantastic results, simply by giving a lot of vitamin C, nothing more, just vitamin C. Fantastic results. There are reports on that as you would look around. So I think it's a totally unexplored area of using proper food. But again, the definition, what is proper food? You go to a doctor and tell you, you have a good diet, proper diet. But what it means, you know, it means really nothing. I don't know about doctors in Germany, but in Poland, they get, and in America, I know that too, they get about zero training in proper diet and nutrition. Zero. They are geared to use only pharmaceuticals because that's where the big money is coming from.
Thank you.
No, we have
anyway, your
steps.
Chris, you are presenting next your presentation. So now we'll thank our Christopher Garner for his wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now we have with us Krzysztof Stec, lives in Warsaw in Poland, and his interest in Indian culture and philosophy has made him to come to India frequently and is engaged in research work in Surya Namaskar and is awarded a doctorate title in philosophy. He is a rigorous researcher. Chris currently works at the Institute of Physical Education, Tourism and Physiotherapy in Jan Długo University in Krzysztof, Poland. Krzysztof does research in health psychology, quantitative social research, and physiotherapy. Dr. Krzysztof, you have to excuse me because few pronunciation, it's very difficult. So I hope you will not mistake. So over to you, Krzysztof. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I will also share with you my presentation on slides.
Yeah.
So I hope you will enable the system to accept my presentation. Here it's coming up. I'm just bringing. Can you see already something or not? Is that shared or not?
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
What do I need to do to have it on?
Sir, first open the PPT. After that, click on the share screen, the green color button, share screen at the center of the screen.
Bottom down.
Yeah, the bottom. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I think yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now we got it, right?
Yeah. You can go full screen, sir. Perfect.
All right. How much time do you give me for another 20 minutes? Is that so? About? All right. So as you have heard, you know, my approach to this topic that I'm going to present now for you has been dynamic Surya Namaskar. And Surya Namaskar in itself is dynamic in comparison to static poses or asanas. That's obvious. But I have gone with the dynamicity of Surya Namaskar, you might say, to a cube or at least to a square, where one performs at one session several hundred. I have gone up to 1008. That took me a continuous performance of 2 hours and 8 minutes exactly, as I remember. So performing at 100%, almost 100% of your capacity, it really takes a lot of tune-up of all your systems. And it is not easy to do it. Maybe, you know, marathon runner will run maybe 3-4 races per year. And that's where they go to 100% of their performance capacity. Now to go just about every day with that high capacity is very, very difficult, almost seems impossible. So you have to really train your body, and when you are able to do it, then you are at the world-class level. I don't care whether you are a professional Olympic runner or swimmer or whatever. It really takes a lot out of you. So I started searching for other methods, trying to see within the yoga curriculum, what else could I do? Of course, the high quality food, superfood, if you will, it says it would be a way. But I found quickly that that is not sufficient, not sufficient. And I also found that the ordinary knowledge, dietary knowledge, which is used by trained dietitians or medical doctors, it's completely insufficient, that they seem to not hit the area where the truth is hidden. I also talked to many Ayurvedic doctors throughout India, trying to find the answer, comparing, of course, with the latest Western findings. So optimal peak performance, I found that it has to have two wings: the superfoods, the ultimate diet, what I call, and the other wing is the Ashtanga Kriyas. Actually, that name you will not find in yogic scriptures. I have coined that word myself, and I will explain to you in a very little time that we have what I have in mind and why I have decided to approach the whole thing that way. And also through Surya Namaskar as my testing ground, I have proved it to myself beyond any doubt. You know, 100% capacity performance for 2 hours causes that 80 kg person, I am about 80 kg, will lose from 4 to 5 kg body weight in one session. Anyone who has done any work with exercise physiology will know that that indicates extremely high effort. All right, so because, you know, normally I give my presentation, it takes much longer time, it's a lot of detail, but I will just outline for you the basis of my thinking. So maybe one of the most important slides here in the whole presentation is arithmetic of vitality, biological engine. An engine is a device which translates, let's say, one type of energy into another type of energy. For example, electrical engine, what is it? It's a device which translates electrical power into mechanical one. And electrical generator does exactly opposite thing. What happens when you observe in life electrical engine? If it works hard, if the work it has to do is very heavy, you will find that the engine gets heated up. Some energy is wasted through frictions into heat. And basically, sometimes electric motor can get so hot that you can cook your chai. We all know that. That's an everyday experience. But in a similar way, we can look also as our human body, not only psychosomatic system, rather, as a biological engine. And just as mechanical electric motor, it also needs some supply of energy. Those would be nutrients. And also it would have its own frictions or obstructions. So we arrive here at the equation, V vitality equals E minus O obstructions. So from this simple equation, you can easily see, because most of us would like to have as much energy, as much vitality as possible, that it will increase as soon as we improve our nutrient supply, so that pictured here by E and the arrow going up, or by removing obstructions, which is indicating removal is indicated by the arrow going down. The best situation, of course, would be if energy supply could be of highest, best quality, so will go up, and O would go down. So the difference between the two would be the highest. Therefore, you would be you would have as much vitality as possible. So please do remember this equation. Now, I would like to suggest also that the West is more prone to use and focus on the E side. This is something you can sell. Food supplements is well known to you all of. But much less known, much less attractive is the O, removal of obstacles, because considerably less you can make money. So probably that's the main reason why. So let's move to the next slide and see the obstructions. What are they? Encumbrances, foreign matter, toxemias, mucus, drugs used in the past, on and on, we could go. And every disease can be considered as a type of constipation, obstructions which are created within our body. And any disease also can be considered body's attempt to eliminate these obstructions. It is basically regeneration through house cleaning. Every person has more or fewer obstructions clogging his organism from undigested and uneliminated unnatural food substances accumulated since childhood. It is very important to understand that if you don't combine even the highest quality, ecological, organic quality of foods, you will not be able to avoid creating poisons within your body. So even the highest quality food, if not combined properly, eaten at the same time, it will still create poison within your body, and toxemias and on. It's quite a bit more to say, but I have to cut it down here. Just conceptually, you can look at the whole thing. Now, I would like to focus for a little bit on Hatha yogic scriptures. What do they say? I started actually searching through yogic scriptures for the guidelines. What could I do to improve my capacity to do my beloved dynamic Surya Namaskar? And believe me, it is dynamic because I do one round, 12 poses in 7.5 seconds, and I maintain that speed for 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever time I have. I looked at Hatha Pradipika. Look what happens. I use, because many different versions are on the market, I use the very good one from Kaivalyadam, Lonavala. In the 3rd chapter, 8th sutra, where Svatmarama talks on pranayamas. Actually, he already dealt with Nadi Shuddhis, what I call the pre-pranayama, which is supposed to prepare you for 8 pranayamas that they expose those techniques. The 1st chapter there is on creating a conducive environment for yogic practice. They talk about diet, they talk about good environment, living in a nice neighborhood. The 2nd chapter is on asanas. And here Svatmarama arrives at the pranayamas lecture, and on the 8th sutra he notices shat karmas, or the purificatory techniques, should be practiced to get rid of the disorders of fat and phlegm. one who enjoys a balanced condition of three humors need not to practice them. When that happened, when was that scripture written? Well, what I understand, experts say it is 50 to 100 years from mid 14th century to mid 15th centuries. Most people say it is about mid 15th centuries. So this is the knowledge that he's sharing with his disciples. Look what happens 200 years later, Garanda Samhita, beginning of 17th century. Here, it's the first chapter, 9th and 10th Sutra. And what does he say? The 7, 8 in conditioning the body are shodhana, or the purification. Something I believe must have happened in Indian society, that it has deteriorated the lifestyle, because now the Master Garanda says you have to start with shodhana, or the purification. Actually, you should not start asanas, pranayamas, and all other techniques until and unless your body is purified. Look what happens with the next scripture written in the about mid 18th century. Hatha Tattva Kaumudi, the first encyclopedia of yoga, only 2 copies known in Benares, Varanasi. Look how important it is. Practice of Ashtanga yoga, everybody is familiar with that, is indeed an exercise in futility without the purification of the impurities. It does not bring about success, even though practiced for a long time, to the one who is internally and externally replete with toxins. So you can see the evolution that the masters in yogic scriptures express, that we have to move more decisively with every century, more into purification, because the other more subtle practices of yoga cannot take place as expected. Look a little bit more, we just go through the maybe first one. Just as in all limbs of the body, head is of prime importance. Similarly, among all the yoga practice, Nadishuddhi assumes significance in the beginning. Now, the word Nadishuddhi can be understood more in a generic way, general way, and also very specifically as those alternative breathings. Here it's in a general way. What else? Unless and until this Hatanga is practiced intensely, yoga practice of a practitioner is futile. Look how strongly it says. And we could go on and on as other sutras. I here just projected 4 of them, but there are many more sutras which explain why. Now, look now at the modern diet. This is just a summary. Processed food, big name, processed food, thermally treated. You know that humans are the only species that thermally treat their foods. And what do? We kill the biological activity of each and every food if we heat it above 53 degrees. Phytochemicals die, in other words, become biologically inactive at the temperature from 40 to 44 centigrade. There are more than 10,000 of them, and more are being still discovered. Each plant basically has its own specialty. And all other substances, life substances in our body, like enzymes, get killed by temperature in about 52, 53 centigrade. The second stage, purified, meaning removed most valuable parts. Potatoes, simple potato, what do? We peel them because it's dirty, they were in the earth, right? But very few people know that the most important nutritional value of any potato, any fruit, any vegetable actually is in its skin. 95% of all phytochemicals, most important substances, are in the skin and 1.5 millimeter under the skin, and we remove it. In Poland, the potato peels, for example, they give to the pigs. They feed the pigs with that. So Polish pigs are very healthy, I must tell you. Now, the next one, non-organic. Of course, we all know about chemical fertilizer, pesticides, and so forth. But very few people realize how much nutritional value is lost by doing that. Why the governments, why the doctors don't focus on that? I will show you some more data later. additives and preservatives, another processed food, about 8,000 of them. There is not a single person who can remember all of them. You go to buy a processed food anywhere in the market in the world, and you will find something something was added. And lack of fiber, we also know that, because the fiber people feel it's more difficult to digest. Now, general problem of overeating, many reasons of that. Now, isn't that the truth that in India especially, you are eating too oily, too salty, too spicy, too starchy, too sweet? Easy to remember: too oily, too salty, too spicy, too starchy, too sweet. So you can eating that diet and doing some spiritual yogic practices and keeping very heavy of this type of diet, your progress is going to be by design very slow and ineffective. Now, the next item, food items, even of best quality, cause problem if not properly combined. Many different examples I could give, but let's move on. We have no time. Lack of sufficient mastications. We all know of that. We rush everywhere all the time. A lot of important physiochemical processes happen in your mouth. And lastly, but not least, lack of biologically active water. Water, it means properly structured, dynamized with the divine energy, the cosmic energy. It is not by accident that the great yogis love to be in Himalayas, because that's where that water is easily available. So that science is, again, I believe, very much underappreciated, though 70% minimum of our body is contained of water. So wouldn't you like that water that you have within your body to have a proper hexagonal structure? That's a good question. Here I would like to another important point made by Rudolf Steiner, very well-known spiritual scientist from Austria. Read that, please. As long as one feeds on food from unhealthy soil, the spirit will lack the stamina to free itself from the prison of the body. We need tremendous energy to make progress spiritually. So this is the very basic, the most important fundamental work one needs to do before moving into full yoga, I would say. Now, here I wanted to show you some examples, some samples of goods that we were able to extract from our patients. You probably know it was extracted from large colon. I would like to turn your attention to the lower right hand corner. You see, I call that especially the black cobra effect. This species was about 130 to 150 centimeters long. It was obtained from the gut of a patient after several colonics, hydrocolonotherapy. Maybe it is, I call it Mahabasti. This is Mahabasti because you are successfully with that machine sending to the body up to 150 liters of water. You would wonder why. That's a special technology. We have no time now to explore it. But this is the species, which, because it's so black and it was hard, it is called fecal stones, and they resided in the stomach of that person for about 40 to 50 years. And believe me, it wasn't because he was a meat eater, because especially people who eat a lot of purified starches, white starches, which are perfect glues, and they got stuck, glued into your walls of your intestine. So you can imagine with every heartbeat of that person, the worst disease, the worst toxins were going directly to the liver of that person, and from the liver all over the body, because the liver cannot take for much time this kind of poisoning. If you think another experience, scientific experience, if you think that a poo on a field smells pretty bad, you would not believe the stench being around this type of species. which has been in temperature of about 37 centigrade for so many years. So since the gut, the large intestine is not able to handle that very quickly, the next step of purification is your liver. And here what starts happening, your liver starts collecting the stones. And as you follow the proper procedures, these type of stones will be coming out of your liver. The darker it is, the harder it is really like a stone. The lighter are younger and they're usually soft. So this is about 300 grams of species extracted from a liver of one person within one purification. Again, proper natural technology technique can be used to remove it. Now, since most livers are overburdened, actually about 50%, the statistics say, of the liver is completely dysfunctional. It is completely poisoned and not functioning, not protecting our body from the poisons coming from outside. Then it is sent through blood, and then the kidneys, the last resort, trying to stop that from circulating in your blood. So kidney stones, it's a very well-known problem in our modern society, and there are also various sizes and all of that. So this is to show you how that improper diet accumulates as terrible poisons in our body. 7 levels of the body pollution. Please, you can read maybe the first one, the last one. In spite of healthy looks, one starts being tired. The moment you don't have enough energy from early morning to go full speed until evening 10 or 11, it is the first indication that you are started your pollution, that your food, something needs correction. At the highest stage of disintegration of your body is when the cells and organs experience formation of tumors. And boy, don't we have it all over the place. And immediate stages, as you can identify it, moving towards more and more poisons in your body, created by totally unnatural food we take. Now, just in the beginning, about 2010, results taken by the European Union, measurements, how much toxins and harmful substances average person takes in Europe. 54 kilograms of substances yearly, 8,000 types of additives, preservatives, excessive consumptions of medicine, We have to move on. Now, agricultural toxins, which get all over the place. Look at the last one, maybe you are from India mostly. Delhi's citizens who have the highest world content of DDT in their bodies. Look at the big populations in India, because they still are allowed to use DDT. They look very beautiful, very nice, but DDT you will get. The most well-known harmful are aspartame, made out of 3 poisons, and sodium glutaminate, which enhances the taste of it. Sorry, but we can, with each and every additive like that, we can talk quite a bit here just to indicate for you. Look, mineral and vitamin content, extremely important slide. It's taken from Karlsruhe Institute in Germany. Look, it is they measure about 82 nutritional components. Here they just for briefness, they showed the most important vegetable fruit and how much of various components it was lost between 1985 and 96. Calcium in broccoli, 68%. Look, calcium in potatoes, 70%. Look, each and every, it is tragic what is happening. It is a big question, really, an important, valid question, why the government would not focus here on this. Well, probably because the money stands somewhere else. The lobbyists work their own way to politicians. Now look at the health capsule of Times of India I was able to find between 1936 and present day. look how much it was lost. I think they are much less than they really got lost because they did not want to scare the people. Look at the New York Times, 2013, 7 years ago, the phytochemicals, which turn out to be possibly one of the most important nutritional ingredients. Look how much they got lost. Corn, which is so important in Latin America. Apples from Sikkim, look, 71, almost 7,200 100 grams, and now Golden Delicious bought in New York. How many times? 100 times less of that. And on. Look at the potatoes. On and on you could go like that. The depletion of nutritional value of our foods that we eat. Now, GMO, it's very well-known problem. Here, sorry, we don't have too much time. I must be ending. But look at the famous Seralini, French well-known scientist from Cannes, who researched that. That's only GMO, about 4 months of only eating that particular GMO corn. Almost 1/3 of the body of that rat, poor rat, it's cancer, tumor, and the other examples. So this is the problem of GMO farming and organic farming. Very famous Manasabu Fukuoka from Japan, the famous Buddhist monk. And in India, I visited a man named Bhaskar Sabek. He was 90. Fantastic, amazing research he has done, and the crops that he can have. His farm is only from the sea, about 25 kilometers, so it's basically sand, and he has most amazing crops doing it organically. If anyone has questions, please ask me. I have literature on that. We're just touching the surface of the problem. This is amount of fruits and vegetables you should have daily, fresh, please remember, fresh. It's very different impact on the body. Now, this is a well-known food components, but these are the most important here in the yellow color. Much to say, but we have to move on. 3 steps to incredible health. Power of macronutrients, especially bioflavonoids. Elimination of food addictions. That's another superfood for pleasure and health. And this is the health equation. Nutritional density over caloric density. Your health goes up the more nutritional density you have. It means basically in superfoods and in ecological organic foods, and the less caloric density you have. Very important equation. Now the water, sorry, but we have to move on. Now your mineral water, it's all dead water. We must move to live water, which means unpolluted, biochemically clean, very important, but also energized. This is more important factor than the biochemically clean. In India, as far as I know, it's only 1 or 2 places which make such, I'm in close touch with them, which make these kind of units. They are more expensive, but if you appreciate the science, the emerging science of water. Are you familiar with that book? The Emerging Science of Water by Professor Korotkov and Voykov. Amazing book. For example, they show tests that they have conducted where crops are increased more than twice if you use the live water. It's not enough monsoon water. Some people would say, okay, it comes from nature. No, it's not. It has to be dynamized by special procedures. More than twice, and you have to put much less or none actually of the fertilizers so that it just is doing its own work. So please do understand that the water you drink hydrates your cells, hydrates your body, and does not irrigate you. Very, very important. We have no time now to go in more into that. You need to drink water which has only very small molecules. It's another part of the science. The proper water, you have some nice photos of that here, that it must have hexagonal, beautiful structure there. System of Ashtanga Kriyas, I need to be ending. It's a unique system, means significantly decrease or completely eliminate the obstructions. We talked with the first equation. The work and the conclusions in this work in the system is based on amazing Russian scientists' work. They have whole Siberia where the shamans are still very active. They do amazing work. Probably, I think it came from China through Tibet, from India, but there was, very long time. Now, Arnold Ehret, McCarrison, McGerson, Norman Walker, Paul Brackmas, Asaru Emoto, so many other big names, yogic Shatkarmas, of course, and Ayurvedic Panchakarma. So there are 5 main purification processes you have to go. First, most important, energy field purification, then loosening up of the body and colloidal liquids purification, then colonic purification, liver purification, kidney purification. You have to go stage by stage, move from the 1 to 2 to 3. You cannot skip it. Then the second level, parasites and other pathogenic organism removal, which those usually takes lots of energy. We don't appreciate the fact. Then alkaline and acid salts removal and dead cells removal. The first 5 steps would give you health of unknown quality in the Western world, and maybe some pockets in India. They are available somewhere in Himalayas, maybe Hunza people or something in Pakistan, or present-day Pakistan. Amazing results. Here it's some therapeutical references in traditional yoga texts from the Lonavla Yoga Institute. Fantastic work Dr. Garota is doing and his team. And fasting is another most important feature of your ultimate purification. Much science is attached to it. Most people have no idea, no clue how to do it properly, and mostly they hurt themselves instead of improving. Nice specific physiological mechanisms which are uniquely empowered and activated during fasting, and the effects of the purification. If you come through this system understanding, you will get these results. Unexpected and total rejuvenation, all-encompassing feeling of unusual lightness and fullness of health, experience of overall contentment, bliss and perfection, and a feeling of unusual vitality and energy. And you will not believe it, I found very similar sutra in the Hatha Pradipika, the ending chapters, and also I found something very similar, Dr. Johnson, the American doctor in America, with modern natural healing. And please compare that to the state of yoga. Isn't that the state of yoga that we are all trying to arrive at? So just by dieting, by proper understanding of and combining the superfood technology with the Ashtanga yoga approach of removing the excess of everything that we have, we can arrive at this amazing state. And some people being in the state report the miraculous results, what they call. Have you ever heard of 80-year-old man who would grow a set of brand new teeth and the natural colored black hair would grow back onto his skull? That's a good question to all of you. Have you ever heard? I have many stories to tell you following these type of procedures I just briefly described. Now, Arnold Ehret, you can find lots of information about him on internet. He was a man, a medical doctor, in the beginning, at the end of 19th century, who had such a problem with his heart system that when he was 43, about 42, 43, it would take him 45 minutes every day to walk up 3 steps to his house, because he was almost getting palpitation of his heart. All kind of advices were given, eating fantastic food. Of course, at that time was very different concept of what is good food, proper food than now. Shortly, he was searching to survive because his father died with the same symptoms, and his older brother also died with the same symptoms that he had. So he was destined to die. Best cardiologist in Germany at that time told him, look, you have half a year to live and bye-bye. As he stopped following the modern medicine of that time and started fasting, starting completely changing his diet, completely quit his meat eating, and on and on. We have no time to get into particulars, the German average diet. He was able to walk at 3,500 meters for 56 hours. You know how much effort and how much stamina you have for that. He wasn't an everyday bicyclist, but to prove the point, he was bicycling for 800 miles after 1 month fast and eating only 1 kilograms of fresh sour cherries. That happened in Morocco. You can read up, there was hundreds of experiments. I just quote to you the most important, startling.
Christoph, excuse? Christoph?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, can you complete in another few minutes, please?
Yes, this is the summary.
Sorry for interruption, because Raghuram.
Yeah, I understand. I'm sorry, I have overrun, I think, by 10 minutes.
No problem. Very interesting. Your presentation is very interesting and very fantastic. We'll organize exclusively for you one day. So, because we need to complete this in another 10-15 minutes. My request.
Yes, we are completing in 2 to 3 minutes now.
Yeah, please.
Summary. I understand that I have thrown at you a lot of concepts. It is many different sciences. I give normally minimum 2.5 days workshop on that. And actually, when people want some practical knowledge also, because there are many techniques, the trick, the success in the technique is when you are knowing the details to the bone, so to say. And it comes to my mind a story with Dr. Bolle, a famous researcher from Kaivalya Dhamma, when the first very large hospital in Pune asked for 2 best candidates to run for their patients for lower back pains yoga schedule. And after 1 year, they came to a conclusion: yoga does not help in the lower back pain. And everybody intuitively in this group listening now, we know that yoga is the means to help with that problem. And yet, basically, those people, though completing 1 year studies, famous diploma in yoga education, they were unable to execute that and motivate the patients in the proper way. Then they asked Dr. Bolle, please, can you help us? You are the researcher, you have the experience. And he came within 2 or 3 months, I think, he proved, yes, yoga works with this. So the execution of the program is most important. Now only reading what is in summary. The human organism can be called an engine built from a pipe system. Popular diet of our civilization is never completely digested, and feces are not completely removed from the intestines. This whole system of tubules, nadis, slowly clogs up the blocks, especially in the areas where the symptoms of illness are developing and in the digestive system. This is the true and fundamental cause of every illness, and also the unexplored territory seeking answers to finding perfect health. Ancient scholars, rishis, have confirmed this fact long ago, but only now our official teachings begin to notice it. So here what I mentioned, suggestion, apply at least 4 fundamental purifying processes. List is here. And the last thing, after cleansing, remember not to introduce different types of deposits and toxins. So begin proper nutritional habits. Do not eat processed food. At least 51% of your daily food intake should be raw. Because have you heard of Kochakov experiment? I don't know why the dietitians of the world and why the physiologists of the world have not heard even about this famous Kochakov. He was working for very famous laboratories in Lausanne, Switzerland. In 1936, the research was made known. Reduce protein intake, properly combine and chew food, fast at least once day a week and 7 to 10 days every 3 to 4 months. Thank you very much. Pranams to all of you. I hope I was able to bring something new, something unique for you to ponder, to consider. And if famous scholars on your end would be more interested in details of my presentation, I am ready for any kind of cooperation. We can do that with Germany because I'm close by, or we can do it in India, S-VYASA, any other place. Namaste. Thank you. And if there are any questions, please.
Namaste to you. And most of them, they have a lot of questions on your presentation. And anyway, it's a recorded message and I'm sending that. And I'm also sharing your email ID to all of them. So they will interact with you. And probably I'll tell you your passion towards the research and the work you have done. Extremely, we are thankful to you for your valuable time and for your presentation. For the time constraint, I'm forced to interpret in between your presentation. Please excuse me and sorry for the interruption. And we have to thank you and particularly Christopher Garner and you for particularly you are joining from your Poland for this international webinar. So now I request Dr. Professor Raghuram ji to do this presentation on yoga and philosophy. My dear friends, Dr. Professor N.V. Raghuram. Professor N.V. Raghuram, born in Andhra Pradesh, graduated in engineering. Right from the childhood, his interest is Indian culture and philosophy made him to pursue the meeting spiritual suits and seekers from Himalayas and get guidance from them. Raghuram worked for more than 15 years as an engineer before taking a voluntary retirement to share his knowledge and experience to people in the field of yoga and psychology. He is a chairman and spiritual guide of Yoga Bharathi, USA-based organization engaged in training and research in yoga and its application in various part of the countries. So, and he's also his wife is Dr. Nagarathna Didi, and for her, he is a inspiration for her all the work. So, over to you, sir, Professor N.V. Raghuram.
Thank you, Amarnath.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful words. Namaste to everybody. Just want to say you first thing that I don't have all the technical knowledge, medical knowledge, etc., that people have to have all that presentations and all that. Generally, I don't work with presentations. I just give a simple talk. My talk is simply down to earth. But before I enter into my talk, let me share with you one small little information, just to give an idea that one time what happened is somewhere about 7-8 years ago, myself and Nagarathna, we went to see a saint near Chennai. And then we went there, we saw him, talked to him for about a couple of hours. He was very happy, very healthy, and nicely talked to us. After that, we were returning back and we were going to the car. And then he said, I will also come to the car to leave you. I said, no, please don't do that. Because, you know, you are elderly and then you bid us farewell from here. He said, no, I will come. He insisted. Then we were walking to the car. Then he wanted to get up from the chair and we had Subbu with us. Subbu tried to assist him. He almost get angry with him. He said, why do you want to assist me? Do you think that I'm old? I can get up myself and walk down. He was 104 years. If you want to see him, come to our Prashanti and you see a person who is sitting there. Last year, we celebrated 110-year birthday. And he's a simple Swamiji sannyasi, eating the food what the sannyasin are supposed to eat. But even till today, he doesn't use any instrument for a year. He doesn't have any problems with the eyes. He reads 3-4 hours book and his eyes are perfect. He doesn't wear any dentures. But a very happy person. Nice to see such person, that's all. Very simple thing, I would like to say. And so coming to the topic, yoga and philosophy, it's like that. Everything has philosophy, everything has an idea. Yoga also has the whole of philosophy. And one person who has given us the yoga aphorisms or the theorems, and that's what is Patanjali. Like the way that Euclid has given us geometry does not mean Euclid created geometry. Geometry always existed. What Euclid did is put them together in the form of a text so that those principles of geometry can be used everywhere. The same way, Patanjali, before Patanjali, the ideas of yoga were there. In the nature, right from the beginning, various people used to practice. That's what we see, that Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Upanishad sages, that there are references for yoga. Only thing is, Patanjali has given us an organized form of the aphorisms or the principles of yoga, given in a beautiful sutra. Sutra means it's like the formulae. And that is the most authentic version of yoga principle, because basically it is like any science text. Mathematics formulae, when you see it, it's so accurate, so exact. And all that what you need is to just understand them. In fact, when I say it is very accurate, it is like the way 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. Why is not 5? Don't you like 5? There is no question like that. The same way Patanjali has given Chitta Vritti Nirodha Tatha Drashtu Swarupi Avasthanam Vritti Sarupyam Itaratraha. He never said anything wrong, anything bad, or anything like that. Vritti is the way that your mind goes outside. Vritti Nirodha, you go back to yourself. So this is the idea that he has given. That means to say, we are a complex personality and we are interacting with the world outside, and the world we are interacting with the senses, and behind the senses we have the mind which interacts with the world. And the interaction with the world, he calls it as vritti, fine. So vritti means I go out into the world outside, but then, and that's what the whole world is all about. That's what the world teaches us. But in the process that we forgot to go back to self. So this is what is the process Patanjali gives us. That vritti, because you go into that, so you need yoga to get back to yourself. Therefore, somebody has given a very simple philosophy. Yoga is homecoming, getting back to yourself. And that's what this year, International Day of Yoga, is yoga for home. That's a beautiful way that it is put. Now, what happens is, on one end, that the gross end, the world outside, we have physiology, we have body, and deep at the other end, we have the consciousness. So this is the most important aspect of human being, is a very complex personality. On one side is body, which is very rigid, very stiff, and it interacts with the world outside. And on the other side, we are the consciousness. And consciousness is the total freedom. And consciousness is the one which is feeling. Without the feeling, without the consciousness, there is no feeling. Like the way table and chair, they don't have any consciousness, therefore they don't feel anything. Whereas the moment that you come to the plant, yes, there's a bit of consciousness, they start feeling it. Animals, much more. Your pet dog or a cat, they know that you are coming home, they feel. When you come to the human being, there are several hundreds of feelings that are there in the human being. All that feeling is because of the consciousness. This is one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is freedom. Where the consciousness is not there, there is no freedom. But the moment that there is consciousness, you can see the introduction of the degree of freedom. Like, for example, somebody is lying down unconscious. Anyway, you are unconscious lying down, keep the foot this side. He can't move it because there is no freedom. He can't feel it. He doesn't have a sense. Whereas the first thing that we could find out that he has consciousness is, come on, open your eyes. And that person opens his eyes and looks at you. Wow, yes, there is consciousness. Similarly, you give your hand and then say, hold it tight. And that person tightens it. That means to say he has a freedom. That freedom is the one which makes consciousness. So these are the two essential principles of consciousness. That's what human being is all about deep inside. If I'm feeling hot or cold, it's because I'm conscious. If I don't have consciousness, this feeling is not there. Similarly, if I feel love, if I feel compassion, it is because that I have consciousness. And that's what is the aspect of divinity that's there within us. And Swami Vivekananda said, each soul is potentially divine. That means to say deep inside, we have this divinity, but it is covered by so many other things, and then we are not in touch with that directly. A jhat contractor was building a 5-story building, and then 2 people were working on the top of the building. They skipped out of scaffolding, fell down, and one fellow broke his bones, and the other fellow died. And the fellow who broke his bones was crying. And the contractor comes to him and shouts at him saying that, look at the other fellow. He lost his life and keeping quiet. And you broke a couple of bones and you are crying. What's the big deal? He's crying because he's conscious. So consciousness has the feeling of pain, feeling of pleasure. And also consciousness is the one which makes you to move, which has the freedom. So the whole idea is that can we identify ourselves with the consciousness and use the body wherever it is necessary, whenever it is necessary. Otherwise, you detach from the body. You say that I don't want to be associated with the body. Be consciousness. And there is another important aspect of that consciousness deep inside, which we call it as Atma or the consciousness.
Maximum.
Yeah.
So,
that is supposed to be the bliss. Look at the children. They're always blissful. That means they are identified themselves with the consciousness. They come to the body only when it is absolutely necessary. They feel hungry, they come to the body. Otherwise, they are happily playing. We were also like that when we were children. That means we were most of the time identified with the bliss personality within us, happy. And once in a while, we come to the body level wherever it is necessary. Otherwise, we don't come to the body level. Just to give a small little anecdote, a minute anecdote. Earlier, this Prashanti was a very small place. We were about 50, 70, 80, 100 people. I finished my lunch and I was coming back to my home, the small little house that we have. And then in between, there is a playground. And then all the children were playing at the playground. I was watching at the children. Naturally, my attention went to a boy who is our cook's son. And he had a cut on his knee. Blood was coming out. Immediate instinct is, let me go and help him. But then I said, he is happily playing. He is blissful. Let him continue. I just wanted to see that he doesn't get hurt once more on that thing. For about half an hour, he was playing. Meanwhile, his mother came from the kitchen. And you can just imagine what will happen to the mother when she sees the son bleeding at the knee. Immediately, she shouted from there, hey, come here. You have hurt. And that boy also from there shouted at the mother saying that, Mom, don't disturb me. We are playing. And he continues to run. Of course, she is a strong lady. She went in his way, stopped him, held him tight, showed him his knee, said, look at your knee, blood is coming out. And looked at the knee and then said, oh, it's paining, lift me up. I can't walk. Our fellow was playing for about an hour. But now pain has come. Pain has come because that he identified himself with the body. All our suffering pain is that we are identified with the body. And the more and more that we de-identify ourselves from the body and go deeper, de-identify with the prana, de-identify with the mind. Once we de-identify from all those things, we are identified with the consciousness. The whole practice of yoga is a journey in this direction. You know, at the body level, when we are giving instructions, it lacks. What do you mean by that? It is, don't be with the body, leave the body alone and come out of it. That's what Upanishad says, Annamayam Atmanam Upasankramati. Similarly, when you do the pranayama, at the end of the pranayama is that the pranas chalantu tadharmaihi, prana is going on, but you free yourself from that. The whole of meditation is not what you do with the mind, but what you do to the mind so that you can transcend the mind and intellect you transcend. Then what happens is you are one with the blissful personality, you have total freedom, And that total freedom is what is called as mukti or moksha. And the blissful personality is what is called as ananda. That's the reason why people who have taken to the spiritual journey in India, we always name them as Ananda. Swami Dayananda, Swami Chinmayananda, Swami Muktananda, Chitrananda. You know, all these Anandas are because that they are naturally happy, identified with that blissful personality. But you know, many of these Swamijis are so serious. We don't know where their bliss is there. But that's what is the way it is. This is the whole philosophy of yoga. Anyway, we are introduced to yoga both in terms of, for say, health reason, or maybe for the COVID, or maybe something else. Somebody got introduced to increase his weight. Somebody got introduced to reduce the weight. Somebody got introduced because the wife left him, and somebody got introduced because he got married. Whatever may be the reason, we are introduced to such an extraordinary, wonderful science called yoga. When you adapt that, when you go deep into it, you become one with the consciousness. That's what is our real nature. And the body, prana, mind, all those things are the tools that we use. This is what Adi Shankara said. This is what Ramanuja also said. And this is what all the scriptures said. In fact, when you are identified with that consciousness, then you are compassionate. Compassion is your own nature. Love is your own nature. When Jesus Christ was being put on a cross, he said, why me? He had a complaint. But next moment, he changed himself and said, forgive them, Lord. They don't know what they are doing. When he said that, they said, the Son of God. Why it has happened? Until that time, when he had a complaint, he was Son of Mary. But the moment he said, forgive them, Lord, Son of God. We all have within us Son of Mary. We all have within us Son of God. It's up to us. The choice is ours. Whether we identify ourselves with the Son of Mary, which is the physical mother, that means to say, identifying with the physical body. Or it's our choice to be identified with the blissful personality, the consciousness. That's what is the divinity. Then we become Son of God. Jesus wanted us to become Son of God like him. But then we unfortunately created a creed and cry and all that, and we identify with that. But let us make this journey possible. It's not the question of whether yoga comes from India or this or that and all those things. Leave all those things. Basically, yoga is come for you, for me. Let us make this journey from the Annamaya Kosha level directly to the Anandamaya Kosha level. That's what is the message that we need to take to the world. With these few words, I thank so much that Amarnath has given the chance to speak with me, and not only that, through us that, basically that Christoph and Stec, both of them have come here. In fact, just one word, what a wonderful love that they have, affection that they have. Just I said that they're on this particular webinar. I'm so grateful to Amarnath for making you to, you know what, meeting with Christoph for me is like a festival. Even on the webinar, it's like a festival. That's a beautiful thing that happened. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your valuable time. As you rightly mentioned, so you are the person actually responsible for this webinar to happen.
Oh.
So particularly international webinar to happen. The Christopher and both are, they are very, Christopher, both are Garner and Christopher, both are very close to you. And even though I know as a registrar of the S-VYASA University, you have a close proximity with these two people. And because of you, we were able to organize this. And particularly, sir, for today's webinar, I kept yours as a last session because, after the food, normally we must have a dessert, the wonderful dessert. So after giving all the medical statistics, research and all that, I want the people should go happily with the wonderful dessert. So that's what my intention. And thank you very much for your valuable time. And probably so many of my participants, including Rotarians and BMA members, they're all requesting to organize for each one of you at least 1.5 hour session. Coming days, definitely we organize Garners and yours and Didis and Christoph. So each one of you will provide you some 1 hour, and we'll try to get all the knowledge, whatever you are having. And you are always allowed to share your knowledge. That is important. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable time. And I thank all the participants who have joined for this international webinar. And also I request to all of you to register in the register link so that you will get the e-certificate, wonderful e-certificate you will get. And I hope DG Nagendra Prasad, are you are you there? Nagendra Prasad? Okay, Samir, are you there? Okay. So once again, I thank all of you who supported this wonderful webinar and given your valuable time. So namaste to all of you. So we'll close this with the Shanti Mantram. Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Also, we'll close with Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. I request Raghuramji to mute. Raghuramji, please join. Yeah. Sarve
bhavantu
Sukhinaha.
Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti. Close my